Rule 1 of 12. Here is Rule 1 of 12. Take Maya, a 24-year-old web developer from Brooklyn. She was standing in the middle of Newark Liberty International Airport, or EWR, checking her watch every 30 seconds. Maya had just treated herself to a cobalt blue, high-end suitcase for $450. It featured a built-in TSA lock and a hard shell that felt like a tank. She felt like her gear was inside a literal vault. But here is the reality check. A thief does not need your combination, a heavy tool, or even much time. A common 50-cent ballpoint pen can bypass almost any standard zipper in under 5 seconds. Think about that for a moment. The thief simply pushes the sharp tip of the pen into the zipper teeth. The teeth separate instantly. They slide the pen across, the bag pops open, and they grab whatever looks valuable. The worst part? They can simply slide the original zipper pulls back over the gap, and the teeth re-engage perfectly. Maya reached her hotel in Manhattan, opened her bag, and found her jewelry case gone. But the zipper was closed, and the lock was still engaged. She was left in total disbelief. Here is the fix you need to know. When shopping for luggage, look for puncture-resistant double zippers. These use 2 layers of opposing teeth that a pen tip simply cannot pierce through. If you already have a bag you love, keep your high-value electronics and jewelry in your carry-on, never in your checked luggage. No bag is a fortress, but making yours a hard target sends thieves looking for an easier mark. Maya thought her expensive lock was her best defense. But the next secret reveals how the very layout of a terminal can be your undoing. Rule 2 of 12. Moving on to Rule 2 of 12. You need to check your suitcase lock before your next trip through Chicago O'Hare, also known as ORD. Most travelers see that little red diamond logo on their lock and think their gear is protected by federal standards. Marcus, a 47-year-old financial advisor, certainly believed that when he locked his bags for a flight out of Terminal 3. He had spent $50 on a top-tier TSA-approved lock. When he landed, the lock was still there. The zipper was shut. But his professional-grade camera lens was missing. There was no broken plastic and no signs of a struggle. Here is the insider's secret. The master keys for those TSA locks were leaked online years ago. Now, anyone with a basic 3D printer can download the blueprints and print a set of master keys in minutes. To a dishonest handler, your fancy lock is just a minor speed bump that they can open and relock without leaving a trace. Stop relying on plastic security. The fix is actually much cheaper and more effective. Use heavy-duty, bright neon zip ties. While they won't stop a determined thief with a pair of snips, they provide something a master-keyed lock cannot: tamper evidence. If Marcus had used a bright orange zip tie, he would have noticed the moment his bag hit the carousel that the seal was broken. This allows you to file a report with the airline or airport police before you even leave the baggage claim area. Once you walk out those doors, proving the theft happened under their watch becomes nearly impossible. Most airport theft is a crime of opportunity, and a visible, non-standard seal makes your bag look like too much work. Marcus learns this the hard way, but security is only half the battle. What if the airport itself is designed to slow you down? Here is the twist regarding the infrastructure trap. Rule 3 of 12. Rule 3 of 12 is about the danger of looking too prepared. Chloe, a 31-year-old librarian, grabbed her suitcase from the carousel at San Francisco International, or SFO, and felt her stomach drop. Her $50 biometric fingerprint lock, the one she bought specifically for this trip, was completely missing. The zipper pulls were snapped off. Chloe stood frozen as the realization hit her. Someone had been inside her bag. The anxiety turned into a slow, burning anger as she noticed her expensive tablet was gone. Here's the thing. In 2024, high-tech locks are basically "steal me" signs for dishonest handlers. They signal to everyone in the luggage basement that something incredibly valuable is likely inside that specific bag. Furthermore, if the TSA needs to inspect your bag and the electronic mechanism glitches or the battery dies, they won't spend time troubleshooting. They will simply use bolt cutters and clip it off to stay on schedule. There is a much simpler way to protect yourself. Forget the expensive gadgets and buy a bulk pack of neon green zip ties for $5. Secure your zippers with one and tuck the head of the tie inside the fabric flap, if possible. It won't stop a thief with a knife, but it prevents the bag from accidentally bursting open on a conveyor belt and acts as a clear warning if someone has tampered with it. Most airlines actually suggest using recognizable ties because they are easy to replace if a legitimate inspection occurs. It is a low-tech win for a high-stress environment. Chloe learned the hard way that flashiness attracts the wrong kind of attention. Now, being prepared for theft is one thing, but what happens when the physics of the flight itself works against you? The next trap is built into the very seams of your luggage. Rule 4 of 12. Have you ever wondered why experienced flight crews wince when they see a bulging suitcase at the gate? Rule 4 of 12 deals with the hidden danger of overpacking. Natalie, a 39-year-old marketing specialist from San Diego, thought she was being efficient. She managed to stuff 2 weeks of clothes, 3 pairs of shoes, and her laptop into a single carry-on bag for a flight out of San. She bypassed the scales at check-in, but the physics of altitude had other plans. As the aircraft climbed toward 30,000 feet, the cabin pressure changed. This pressure differential, combined with the extreme mechanical stress on the seams of her overstuffed bag, caused a catastrophic failure while the bag was in the overhead bin. Her personal items, including her laundry and toiletries, cascaded over 3 rows of seated passengers. The humiliation was immediate. She spent the next 10 minutes of the flight crawling under strangers' seats to collect her belongings. Stop overstuffing your bags. Stick to the 80% rule. Never fill your bag more than 4/5 full. This leaves room for the air trapped inside your items to expand and gives the zippers some breathing room during turbulence. Also, always check for YKK-branded zippers. These are the industry standard for a reason. They can handle up to 10 pounds of internal pressure, much better than generic brands. Natalie had to buy a $120 replacement bag at the terminal just to get home. That was an expensive lesson in physics. While a burst bag is embarrassing, the next hidden trap involves your legal rights. Most travelers are leaving thousands of dollars on the table because they don't know their legal armor. Rule 5 of 12. Rule 5 of 12 could save you thousands of dollars. Airlines lose or misplace roughly 25 million bags every year, and most owners never get the full value back. Elias, a 52-year-old real estate agent, stood at the baggage claim in Miami International, or MIA, at 11:30 p.m. The belt stopped clanking, the lights dimmed, and his bag was nowhere to be found. Inside were $300 dress shoes and a $1,200 laptop he had mistakenly checked. He felt a thick mental fog as he approached the service desk. The agent asked for proof of what was inside and the value of the items. Elias realized he had none. Without evidence, airlines often pay a bare minimum settlement based on the weight of the bag, sometimes just a few dollars per pound. That wouldn't even cover his shoes. Here is the fix every traveler needs to use. Before you ever hand your bag over to a check-in agent, take a 30-second video of the contents. Lay out your valuables and film them clearly on your bed or the airport floor. Keep digital receipts of anything over $50 in your cloud storage. When you file a claim, tell the agent, "I have a time-stamped video inventory of every item." This immediately changes the conversation and prevents them from offering the lowest possible settlement. Reality check. This won't help find your bag faster, but it ensures you aren't robbed twice, once by the situation and once by the payout. Elias walked away with almost nothing. Now, you know how to avoid his regret. Ready for more? The next secret reveals the ghost bag trap. Rule 6 of 12. Rule 6 of 12 is your defense against the ghost bag trap. You must demand a tracking scan the moment your luggage vanishes. Jackson, a 33-year-old software developer, stood at a lonely carousel in Dallas-Fort Worth, or DFW, late on a Tuesday night. His bag was missing. The agent at the desk claimed it was on the next flight, arriving at 8 a.m. the following morning. But Jackson sensed something was off. The agent wasn't looking at a live tracker. She was reading a generic status update that hadn't been refreshed in 3 hours. In reality, his suitcase wasn't even in Texas. It was sitting on a rain-soaked tarmac back at his departure point because of a belt glitch. Airlines often give you a best guess estimate just to keep the line moving and avoid a confrontation. Stop and listen. Don't just walk away with a claim number. Ask the agent for the specific last known scan point. Most major airlines use RFID tags now that track bags at every transition. If they can't tell you the specific cart ID or the exact time it was scanned onto a plane, they don't actually know where it is. Use your own technology as a backup. A $25 air tag is your best defense. When the agent told Jackson his bag was on the way, he checked his phone and saw his bag was still 200 miles away. He showed the map to the supervisor, and suddenly the story changed from, "It's on the next flight," to a guaranteed courier delivery to his house. Agents rely on data that can be hours old, but your phone doesn't lie. Now, let's look at the secret legal armor you carry in your pocket that most airlines hope you never find. Rule 7 of 12. Rule 7 of 12 covers the secret legal armor you have on domestic flights. Ethan, a 29-year-old journalist, stood by the luggage carousel at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson, or ATL, watching a solitary red suitcase pass him for the 10th time. It wasn't his. His bag, containing a $3,000 professional camera kit, was missing. The agent barely looked up from her computer, offering a measly $50 travel voucher, as if that covered a career's worth of gear. Ethan felt insulted. He knew the agent was just following a script designed to save the company money. Stop. Don't just walk away with a coupon. In the United States, Department of Transportation regulations, or DOT rules, state that airlines can be liable for up to $3,800 per passenger for lost or damaged baggage on domestic flights. Ethan didn't need a voucher. He needed his gear replaced. The fix is simple, but requires discipline. You must file a Property Irregularity Report, or PIR, before you leave the airport. Keep every single receipt for essentials you have to buy while your bag is missing. If you must buy a clean shirt, a suit for a meeting, or basic toiletries, the airline is often required to cover these reasonable costs. Understand this clearly. Airlines won't just mail you a check for $4,000 because you asked. You need documentation, receipts, and a lot of patience. But knowing that $3,800 limit gives you the leverage to stay firm during negotiations. Ethan eventually got his kit replaced because he refused the voucher and cited the DOT limits. Ready for more? The next secret involves an international treaty that could slash your protection in half. Rule 8 of 12. Rule 8 of 12 is a warning about international travel. Did you know that flying over the Atlantic or Pacific could cost you half of your legal protection? Julian, a 45-year-old lawyer from Seattle, was heading to London Heathrow, or LHR. He stood at the gate in Seattle-Tacoma, or SEA, shivering in a thin T-shirt because his heavy wool jacket was in a bag the airline had misplaced. The terminal was a freezing 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Julian was furious. He expected the same $3,800 protection he had on his flight from Chicago last month. But the agent just shrugged. For international trips, the rules change completely. Your protection is governed by the Montreal Convention, which limits airline liability to approximately $1,700 per passenger. That is a 50% drop in coverage just because you crossed a border. Here is the fix. Before you leave SEA, check the conditions of carriage on the airline's website. If your bag is delayed internationally, buy your essentials immediately and keep every single receipt. File a written claim at the baggage service office before you leave the airport. Mention the Montreal Convention by name. Often, agents have the discretion to reimburse up to that $1,700 limit for proven expenses, but they won't volunteer that information. Julian eventually got $300 for his jacket, but only after he cited the specific treaty. Think you are safe once you leave the desk? Wait until you see why waiting just 10 minutes to file that report could cost you everything. Rule 9 of 12. Rule 9 of 12 is about the exit trap. Waiting just 10 minutes too long to report a problem could cost you $500 or more. Nora, a 36-year-old translator, learned this the hard way at Houston Intercontinental, or IAH. After a 4,000-mile flight, she stood by the carousel as the last suitcase drifted past. Her bag was gone. Exhaustion weighed on her like a lead vest. Her only thought was a hotel bed and a hot shower. "I'll just call the airline in the morning," she whispered to herself, dragging her carry-on toward the exit. That was a massive mistake. Stop. If you leave that terminal and pass through the exit doors without a written Property Irregularity Report, your chance of a successful claim drops to nearly zero. Most airlines strictly require you to file the claim while you are still in the secure baggage area. For Nora, leaving IAH meant she lost the physical proof that the bag disappeared under the airline's watch. The airline could later claim she lost the bag in a taxi or at her hotel. Always find the luggage service desk immediately. It doesn't matter if the line is 50 people deep or if you've been awake for 24 hours. Get that file number and a physical, printed copy of the report before you step outside. While it doesn't guarantee your bag returns by morning, it's the only way to keep your legal rights alive. Now, knowing how to protect your luggage is vital, but the real challenge often begins before you even find your seat. Let's look at a hack for the gate sizer. Rule 10 of 12. Rule 10 of 12 will save you from the most common gate-side scam. You must check your bag dimensions before you ever head to Orlando International or MCO. Caleb, a 26-year-old data scientist, was flying on a razor-thin budget. His carry-on was barely an inch over the limit because of the wheels, but the gate agent noticed it immediately. Caleb felt his face flush as the agent pointed at the metal sizer. That cheap $60 flight was about to get $65 more expensive because of a last-minute gate fee. He stood there fumbling with his gear, feeling the eyes of 100 frustrated passengers behind him. Instead of paying, Caleb used a legal strategy that experienced travelers swear by. Airlines absolutely hate crowded overhead bins because they slow down the boarding process and cause flight delays. They almost always need volunteers to check bags for free. Do not wait for the announcement. Caleb approached the desk 10 minutes before boarding started. He said, "I see the flight is completely full. If you need someone to gate check a bag for free to save space, I am happy to help." This works because it solves the agent's future problem before it becomes a crisis. The agent smiled, tagged the bag for free, and Caleb saved $65. It is not a 100% guarantee, but on high-capacity flights, it is standard operating procedure. Caleb kept his cash and his peace of mind. Saving on bags is just one part of the journey, but the next secret is about the one place on the plane you should never touch. Rule 11 of 12. Rule 11 of 12 is for your health. Adrian, a 41-year-old accountant, sat down in seat 14B at Denver International, or DEN, and reached into the seatback pocket to find his tablet. His fingers brushed against something cold, damp, and definitely not his device. It was a used tissue left behind by a previous passenger. Welcome to the filthiest spot on the entire aircraft. While the cabin air is recycled through medical-grade HEPA filters every few minutes, the physical surfaces are a different story entirely. Independent tests often show that seatback pockets carry more harmful bacteria than the toilet flush buttons or the sink handles. Passengers use them to stash trash, old food, and even dirty diapers. Stop treating that pocket like a convenient storage bin. It is a biohazard zone. The fix is incredibly easy. Keep your essentials in a small personal bag that stays under the seat in front of you, or use a disposable plastic liner if you must use the pocket. Adrian now carries travel-sized disinfectant wipes and scrubs his tray table and armrests the moment he sits down. Reality check. You can't live in a sterilized bubble, but you can avoid the most obvious germ traps. Adrian made it through his trip without getting sick by touching as little of the plane's interior as possible. Now, are you ready for the final piece of the puzzle that could save your life on a long flight? Rule 12 of 12. Here is the final rule Number 12 of 12. Have you ever felt that dull, throbbing ache in your calves after a long-haul flight from Phoenix Sky Harbor, or PHX? Elena, a 55-year-old dentist, was 6 hours into her trip to Europe and felt trapped. Her legs felt like heavy lead weights, and her ankles were visibly swelling. Sitting still for over 4 hours in a cramped economy seat isn't just uncomfortable. It can be life-threatening. It significantly increases the risk of deep vein thrombosis, or blood clots. Elena tried to stretch, but the passenger in front had reclined their seat completely, leaving her with zero room to move. The pressure in her lower legs was building. Here is the life-saving fix you can do without even standing up. You don't need an aisle to stay safe. Use the ankle pump technique. Flex your feet upward towards your shins as hard as you can, holding for 2 seconds. Then, point your toes downward as if you are pressing a gas pedal. Repeat this 30 times every hour. This simple move acts like a manual pump for your circulatory system, forcing blood out of the lower extremities and back up towards your heart. Elena did this religiously every hour. It kept her legs feeling light and prevented the dangerous swelling that leads to clots. Reality check. While these moves are highly effective, they aren't a miracle. If you have a history of circulation issues, always wear graduated compression socks. You are now a smarter, safer, and more prepared traveler than 99% of the people at the airport. These 12 rules are your secret weapon against the chaos of modern travel. Don't be the passenger the airlines take advantage of. Hit subscribe to keep winning the travel game.